Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the corporate jungle. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, industry titans step up to the mic, sharing their epic journeys. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their careers, creating a symphony of success. This isn't just another interview show, it's where truth bombs are dropped and secrets are revealed. So grab your conductor's baton because who knows, this just might help you compose the next huge hit of your career. Are you ready? Let's go.
That's right.
Right. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Drop the Needle podcast. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and I'm so happy you all decided to join us. Today, we're in for a truly special treat. We have the incredible Julie Grant in the studio with us. Julie is a gifted intuitive healer whose journey into the world of spiritual healing began back in 2007. This happened after her first session with a Reiki practitioner. Julie experienced a profound awakening that opened her eyes to the presence of her spirit guides and angels. With the guidance of various Reiki healers, she's transitioned into a space where she could help her friends and family navigate their own heartaches, all while honing her newfound abilities. Over the past decade, Julie's embraced an array of spiritual practices, from shamanic journeying to advanced psychic development and even family constellation therapy. Her dedication to healing and spiritual growth has touched countless lives, making her one of the most sought-after practitioners in her field. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Julie Grant. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for making the time. And I wasn't kidding when I said one of the most sought after spiritual healers and
Wow.
practitioners in her field. You're busy and you made time for us. Thank you.
No, I'm so happy to do it.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I'd like it if you could take us back to the first Reiki session in 2007 and describe the feelings that you experienced during your awakening.
It was amazing. I was living in Lexington, Kentucky at the time, and I had a girlfriend. I was going through a marital change, and I had a girlfriend in California. The therapist that I got assigned through my insurance company I was not connecting with them at all. And uh, my girlfriend says, "Have you ever tried Reiki? I think, just try it and see." And I'm like, "But this is Kentucky. I doubt this is here. This is oh 07." Well, there were several, but one in particular caught my eye. I went to her. To this day, I'm still connected with her. She's just a fabulous practitioner. I sat down and she just kind of talks to you for a little bit. And she said, "Well, I see you like walking down the aisle." And I said, "Oh, I'm already married." And she goes, "Oh, no, you haven't been married for quite a while."
Ooh.
And then it evolved from there. Like she picked up on the disconnection between us and the split, and that now I'm about to move on to a brand new beginning. And I laid on her table and I started seeing Native Americans dancing around me. And what she did was she confirmed my spirit guides coming in, that they were there to help me through this transition. It was a really, really dark period for me. It wasn't an easy decision at all. And she just guided me along while removing the negativity from my energy field. And that's basically what Reiki does. It removes and it adds energy to your energy field, and it changed my life. I all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my gosh, this all makes sense now. Why I'm so sensitive."
Holy cow. That's something. I'm curious, like from a physical perspective, did you like sometimes you hear people say it felt like, well, full body tingles or getting,
Mhm.
like a little shock or something like that when you saw the spirit guides?
I think it's just an overall emotion. I mean, in those days, well, I still get Reiki, and every time it just blows my mind. I think everybody should lay on the table and get Reiki. All you do is lay there, and you just have to allow spirit to come and work through you, through the practitioner, to you, through your body, and they remove what does not serve you energetically. I've been very emotional at times, crying my eyes out. Sometimes I laugh. Sometimes I'm talking to the
Mhm.
guides, and the practitioner says, yes, there's this guide and this guide and this guide in the room, and they have this message for you. So it's all over body sensation, but it's nothing that I have ever felt harms me. It's always just a really beautiful energy coming through you,
That's
in my
cool.
in my experience.
You know what? I've heard a number of people or I know a number of people, I should say, that have had Reiki healing sessions, and I've not heard of anyone say the person receiving it felt bad or had a negative energy or a negative feel. I did have someone I spoke with yesterday that was telling me about her Reiki session, and that the Reiki master that was performing it on her said she felt ill, like nauseous, and was going to
Mhm.
vomit because there was so much that
Mhm.
was getting removed, like all at once. It was pretty overwhelming for her. One of the things that you mentioned, and I guess when you said you saw a Native American person,
Mhm.
did you know that was a spirit guide, or
No, I had no
okay?
idea. That's why I mean, it was just so divinely led that I was with this particular practitioner who is so beautifully intuitive. And she goes, "Well, that's one of your guides."
Hmm.
And what happened is I ended up she took a little break, and then I ended up with a practitioner that learned under her, and she was able to communicate with my guides. She's still practicing. She's very intuitive, and I said, someone's standing to the right of me, and she said, yes, that's one of your guides. He's Native American. And then she started working with me on my intuition. She goes, close your eyes, tell me what you see in your mind's eye. And they just started coming to life.
Hmm.
And that's all I can to explain how my intuition works. In my third eye, I can see them. I can't see them physically, but I know like who's in the room. I sense them. They all sense very differently. And that was part of my specific awakening. Everyone's awakening is different, but my third eye opened straight up so that I could see spirits, I could see my spirit guides, I could see animals, animal totems coming forward.
Hmm.
I I can sense energy from plants and trees.
Oh, wow. And I was going
So,
to ask you, what when you say sense, what, I know it may sound silly, but sense how? In what way?
well, everything in my belief, everything has a spirit, everything has energy, and everything has a purpose here on earth. And so I would just be meditating on my front porch, and I had this beautiful birch tree, and I just all of a sudden heard words. And
Oh,
so then
wow.
again,
Okay.
I've always had a mentor to help me with this stuff, because it can be overwhelming when you all of a sudden start seeing spirits and words out of the
I
blue.
would say, what? What the hell? Yeah.
And
No,
so
I hear you.
she really, really helped me. She's like, "Oh, it's just a friend and they're just communicating." I drew the line to random spirits coming through my house. I'm like, "Oh no, you're not allowed." And so sometimes, I would help them to the light. Other times I'd be like, "No, I'm busy. You gotta beat it. You're not allowed in my house."
So when you open yourself up like that, are you, I guess, again, this is going to sound like a silly question,
Mm.
but when you open yourself up, do you open yourself up to all then? So it could be somebody that wasn't, or a spirit that isn't really good natured, or because that sounds dangerous to me.
It's very dangerous. And so I've worked with uh, uh, I worked with Tina Zion. She's a medical intuitive, and I took a whole weekend course with her, and then the very last day was the spooky stuff, the stuff that
Mm,
doesn't work in the light. And she taught us all, like, if you're going to be doing this work, this is before I was working with the public. You have to protect yourself. You have to set very firm limits with your guides, what you will do, what you will not do, and what is allowed and what is not allowed. But you have to be very aware that my light is on, right? Like
hmm hmm
I can communicate with the dead, I can communicate with spirit, and so my light bulb is on, and then you have to make sure that you are protected, that you do not allow negativity near you. And so I get my energy cleared a lot, and I hope that I'm always um, doing that enough. And
hmm
then if sometimes I feel a little too heavy or a little overwhelmed or just not myself, I'll definitely contact my shaman, clear my energy, or go and get Reiki. You always need somebody, I feel, that you need somebody to be checking you and making sure you're good and clear. Because there's a lot of kind of funky stuff out there. And
Klingons.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Energy vampires. They like your
Yeah.
energy and
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No,
I've
I've
come
heard that regularly.
yeah,
Energy
I've come
vampires.
a long way on but our conversation before we went on air here is sometimes if you just keep hitting block after block after block, you have to check in with another practitioner and say, hey, check out my energy
Right.
because I'm trying to make something happen and it is not happening, and is there energy out there that's trying to block it? So we're human.
Right.
We do our best here. We have egos. We sometimes lose our focus, and maybe, somebody gets in there and starts using your energy a bit.
So when you clear your energy, I'm sure other people were like, okay, or protect yourself or something like that. I think that's what you said that
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
surround yourself. What is that about? What's involved with that? How does it work? That sort of thing. Maybe you could
I
fill in
think,
some of
well,
those
for
blanks.
everyone, it's different, right? And I learn constantly. Like you and I were
Mm,
just talking about our friend Gail Alexander. I've learned a lot from her. You can be in the shower and you just imagine the water being this beautiful violet light,
right.
washing off anything that is negative. And as it leaves, may sometimes I say divine and sacred light fill the
Mhm.
spaces where it leaves. Surround myself in a magenta cloak. That's one of Gail's favorite things to
Yes.
say.
Yep.
I like sparkly gold light, like a dome of sparkly gold light. That's the light of Christ. I put that over myself. I put it over my home. Only those with a divine heart are allowed
hmm
into my space. Things like that. You just set the intention. I use a lot of sage and smoke, sacred smoke, and smoke my office, smoke my computer, my body, especially after sessions. And I always start when I'm working. Everyday life is what I think gets you, because there could just be
Yeah.
somebody funky in the grocery and you're just all walking down and didn't think to even surround yourself with a little light or expand your light. Just imagine your light being really strong and expansive. I think that's also a way of thinking. Instead of protection, you can expand your light. And sometimes you just come across somebody funky and you're just, or maybe you're a little sick and not feeling well, and they can
Oh
just,
yeah.
funky energy. So I use smoke a lot and sage or
So
cedar.
smoke. What do you? Oh, it's the Palo Santo. I'm a big fan. I
Hmm.
like the
It's
aroma
really,
from.
hmm.
I really like that. So when you were saying the glittery gold light, all I was
Hmm.
thinking was the white light from God's disco ball around me. That's what I was thinking. Eh, And I
Yeah.
think if I'm going to have use that as my practice, I might start doing that because it's just fun for me to think about. Oh, God's
Yeah.
got his disco ball out there, just shining that light on
And
there,
put
and
it
it's
over your home, it's
yeah,
just, yeah.
the sparkly
Um,
lights.
I was taught that it's the strongest energy in the universe. It's the Christ light, and you don't.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
not that we're not making this about religion. This is just. It's a very, very powerful light. If you like gold, just imagine gold, beautiful light around you.
Right.
You can get sage pretty much anywhere these days, but a nice little, crystal shop would probably be a good shop to and just tell all negativity to leave and the light to enter the space when it leaves and open a door.
That's that's really well, I think that's great advice. The sage, I've got to say, so I used it one time. I've actually used it a couple of times, and the one time I used it was the first time I used it. I didn't think about the protective measures that should be taken with that,
Mhm.
and it was like somebody kicked the shit out of me when I was
Oh.
done, and I laid down and I was
Mhm.
like, seriously fell
Mhm.
asleep for like a half hour, and I woke up and I said, well, that didn't feel good. And then the next time I did, but here's the thing, I wasn't sure if, because sage can be a pretty overpowering
Mhm.
aroma itself, with the smoking coming up and everything, and you're wafting it around, and a lot of it goes in your face and in your lungs and
Yeah.
everything. So I smudged the hell out of myself with that. But yeah, the first time I like I said, I wasn't feeling well, but the second time I did take into account the protective measures, and it was an enjoyable experience for me after that. And I don't know why, but there was a shift in my the energy in the house and in my surroundings, and
Mhm.
could have been coincidence. Yeah, maybe, but my choice is that it wasn't, and it was because of what I was doing and my intentions. And that's
Mhm.
something that we talk about regularly, about setting the intention. When you do that, okay, so at first I had, let's go back 5 years ago when I started to really open myself up to
Mhm.
this world. I didn't know what intention was.
Yeah.
Set your intentions for the day, set your intentions for the week. And I'm like, going, okay. All you do is just nod your head because you don't want to look like an asshole. So, what does
Yeah.
intention mean? So I will let somebody who's definitely more articulate in this regard to explain to everyone when you say set your intentions or put an intention out there.
I think it's that I always work in the light. And I'm always inviting the light in, whether it's into my energy field, into my home, into my practice. My intention is to always be a pure channel for spirit, for my client, for myself, and to always work in the light. And it can just be as simple as that. I mean, you can write a page of what you would like to be in this world, but it's going to change. And we
Sure.
keep evolving, and every client is different, and their intention is different. And so my intention is just to be a pure channel, tell my ego it needs to go take a nap, tell my mom's side I have an not necessarily an issue, but I'm very mom like. I have
Mm,
children, I have grown children, I have grandchildren, and so I can be if I'm really connecting with my heart to the client, I can start getting a little momish. Well, that's not a pure channel, so I have to tell her to go take a nap too and just keep my ear open to spirit on where this is going. I have to keep my intelligence going on what the client needs and just make sure it's as pure form as it can be.
wonderful. So I'm going to ask your permission here, because we've had a previous conversation about your spiritual awakening and kind of the low point of your life and your existence with that. What did that mean to you? Is it okay if we talk about
Sure.
this?
Yeah.
Okay. What did all of this mean to you? Because I think at one time you said that this saved you. If not for this,
Hmm.
there was real trouble on the
Hmm.
horizon.
Well, it's like I always knew I was going to be a mom. When people say, what do you think you came here to do? I knew from a very, very young age I was going to be a mom, or I was going to be mothering something, whether it was animals. I always had animals around me. I was always in the kitchen with my mom, always helping her with the home. And so that was my purpose. And so then after, my kids are in school, they're doing their thing, and I'm like, well, who am I? I mean, I was still a mom, but I felt this like door opening. And the door didn't necessarily, what was through that door didn't necessarily include my marriage, because my marriage was crumbling and I kept trying to pick up these pieces all, for years. And that's why the first Reiki healer said, well, no, you haven't been married for years. And I kept trying to hold everybody's rocks.
Mm,
Everything was falling apart. And then I just had a vision and I heard 48. You're not going to make it past 48 if you do not change.
mhm,
And I just said the words one day. I said, I can't do this anymore. And as soon as I did that and I stepped through the door and I called my parents and I said, I'm going to need a little help here. I don't know how to do this. And, but I want to live. And so as soon as I said, I want to live, and I went to that first Reiki session, and this whole world was shown to me like it's not, it's so much bigger. It's so much bigger than you ever imagined. And you have all this help. We all have so much help surrounding us. We're just blocked. We haven't opened the door yet to see all the help. And I said, okay. And then I just started remembering. I remembered who I was in past lives and that I've done this before. And then mentor after mentor after mentor, the greatest gifts. I thank them on my website. They each brought me a gift of making me feel valid and that I wasn't losing my mind and that it is okay to have a relationship with spirit and to know my guides and then to help others. Because I was a little scared, like, what if my
mm,
work doesn't help somebody, but could possibly also harm them? So I also put an intention that I never do harm. That spirit, no matter what happens in this session today, that we are only serving in the light and to do no harm. Now, somebody might feel uncomfortable, as you know, like
mhm,
you have pain in your body and you feel uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean the work is not doing what it's supposed to do
right.
to bring you more freedom. And my family constellation mentor right now, she's like, we're not here to heal. We're here to bring them freedom so that they are free to make more choices without the ancestors' baggage on their back.
Right.
And we just
That's
do the
huge.
very best we can each and every day. If I answered your question,
No,
I'm not sure I did.
no, you absolutely did, and thank you for sharing that, because a couple of things came to mind while you were talking about what was going on in your experiences. And one of the things that came to mind was you probably had a supreme sense of responsibility, as far as being responsible for every holding things together, everybody's emotions, to everybody's well-being. That's a tremendous burden right
Mm.
there. But then what I was seeing when you were talking about that was it almost sounds as if you got to the point where there was a complete surrender, and whatever was going to happen at that point, going teetering one way or another, was going to happen, and you just surrendered yourself to whatever that was going to be. Is that pretty accurate?
It's beautifully said. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You have to just literally put your sword down. It's too heavy to carry. I
Mm.
can't, I didn't want to battle with my former husband. I chose him. Let's be super real. I chose him. I chose this experience. I didn't choose the things that went wrong, but I also have two incredibly beautiful children that were brought into the world. So there were gifts in this marriage. There were gifts in this marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and it had run its course. We were done with our contract, and I can say that now, not crying. Back then, I mean,
Oh my gosh,
it's.
yeah.
I don't remember 2007. I remember I was going through an awakening, but I don't. That was the year I lost, and then I picked myself back up. Went to culinary school. I was guided to do that. It was brutal. It was so, I had to go, I was 39 years old. I had to go back and learn how to memorize again and go to school.
Mm,
And you, just physically is such a demanding profession. I, have so much respect for our anyone who works in the food industry,
oh
no
my
matter
gosh,
where they
yeah.
are. The people who are stocking the shelves at the grocery, to who's doing prep in the restaurant, to who is cooking. And I got in too late. I had to mourn that when it was time to get out because physically, I couldn't do it. The hours I couldn't do it,
Oh, it's
but
brutal.
it taught me so much. And so now I cook for my friends and family, and it's pure joy. But then my intuitive practice started picking up, and I just started learning as much as I could.
Well, thanks. Thank goodness for that, right? And I'm
Hmm.
sorry I laughed when you said it was so brutal, and I was just like going,
Oh no, it's
I laughed because yeah, I know. I mean, I know, and I can tell you from working in. So I used to sing, and with every starving artist seems to be a waiter, right?
Mhm.
And I know how temperamental some of those chefs can be. I can't imagine being in a classroom or in an educational setting with that. And you have to just suck it up because, pardon me for saying this, because not everyone is like this, but there's some real bitches out there. And I'm talking female. You could be give me a male bitch. I don't care. They're just so temperamental and nasty and moody. And to your point, though, you get ground down in that profession too because you're working so many hours and you're under the gun, and so many things can go sideways on you so quickly, or you run out of things and blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah. Anyway, and I'm just thankful that that didn't work out for you, because that, what a huge
Yeah.
loss that would have been for this
Thank you.
community if you would have gone that way. Seriously, that would
Yeah.
have been
It
a
taught
shame.
me, I met so many beautiful people. I met people I'm really good, never seen again. I look back now though, and everybody's in their own struggle, right? And sometimes we just get really bound to the struggle instead of seeing the good stuff. So, um, but
That's too easy. I mean, that's what it's about. It's just too easy to get sucked into that shit. And you talk about frequency and heaviness and energies. There is, you mentioned energy vampires before. There are scenarios. It could be your job. It could be your family. Unfortunately, it could be your
Mhm.
friends that just want to shackle you and keep you down and pull you down and it doesn't matter how hard you try. what is it? The one step forward, two steps back. That's what happens when you're stuck in those situations. But to your point, you don't have to be stuck forever, because there does come that choice, and you can follow your heart, you can follow your spirit, you can follow your soul to get to where you're supposed to be, or the next level, or away from it long enough so you can recalibrate.
Yeah,
Just to have
sometimes you
that
need to
safe
take
space.
breaks. Yeah, you need to
Yeah.
take breaks in relationships, or sometimes the relationship is
Jobs.
done. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, and it's devastating to somebody who's sensitive, to lose a friend that you guys
Oh,
just don't match anymore. I mean,
right here.
I mourn the friends I don't speak to anymore. And maybe they'll come back through the door, and maybe they won't. Maybe things are just done. Family members, it's been hard that, but I also, I'm getting up there. I'm getting
Oh,
older,
please.
and
If
well,
anybody's watching this, that's bullshit. So,
hey,
you look great as always. So that's horseshit. I don't
I
believe that for a
still have a
second.
lot of years. I have a lot of years, but I'm really, Jim, um, I'm looking forward to being the elder. My parents are
Mm,
still alive, so technically, right, they're
mhm.
the elder, but I am looking forward to getting to keep learning and to expanding and to be teaching my children healthy boundaries in life. And like, just don't get tied up on the small stuff. I got a
Yeah,
text the other day from one of the kids, and they're like, somebody is getting to do this, and I didn't get chosen. And I'm like, that's none of your business. I
yeah.
go, focus on what you're doing, focus on your work, and keep at it. And the kids just easily shift, way quicker than I shifted. Man, I would churn in that mud over and over and over again. I have no desire to ever do my 20s over again. I mean, my 20s were just a bunch of
Welcome to
crap.
my 50s. Jesus. Are you kidding me? Your 20s. Oh, you're so mature. Oh my God. Uh, so
Well,
well,
well, we're all
that's
in
another
different
day.
stages, right? Yeah.
We all mature at different rates. So I'll be dead, and oh, you finally matured, and just
You
crash and
stop right
die.
now. No,
Yeah,
no.
no, I'm teasing. Um, you had, in doing my research, I know that part of, or one of the many tools that you possess is shamanic journeying,
Hmm.
and I'm curious to know, to me it
What the heck
sounds
that
really
means?
yeah, right, it sounds like ooh, well, watch out, one of
Yeah.
those mysterious tribal thingies.
Yeah.
What is it?
So I was taught by a shaman. I am certainly
Okay.
not, I'm not a shaman, but I was taught how to journey. And basically, you would say, hey, I am struggling with this relationship with this guy at work. I was led to your journey session, because normally spirit will lead you. I offer 4 different modalities, and spirit will lead you. And I'll say, okay, so we talk for 30 minutes, and I kind of make a lot of notes and ask you questions. My intention is to meditate on you and this person at work and show me what we need to do. Is this past life related? Is it current life? And so I go into my meditative state, and my intention is to meet with your spirit, your guides, and I talk directly to your guides. And I say, okay, this is what we're working on today. What do we need to do? And they already know all this, right? Because you and I have
Hmm.
already met. And so your spirit just kind of sits there and watches me talk to the guides. And in this particular situation, let's just say I'm going to go to a past life with your guides. You stay here, and I record everything that happens. Because I don't remember. I'm under for about 45 minutes, like 42 to
Wow.
48, and then spirit will pull me out and say, "Okay, you're good."
Enough.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll go to the past life. They'll show me what's going on. I tell you what happened in that life, and I said, "Okay, how can we heal this moment in time?" Usually a master, an archangel, or a master will come forward, heal that moment in time. And if this, usually a spark of light from that past life is part of your soul, it will come back to you. And we'll do a soul retrieval, and it flies back to you now in your current life, making you more whole. Because we've been through a lot of tragedies. Our
Right.
lifetimes have not always been easy. And then I'll come back and say, okay, what else do we need to work on? Sometimes they'll do a healing on you. I'll tell you everything that's happening. Sometimes we'll meet with a current parent, and the parent now, as a spirit, can talk to you freely without ego, without a human body. We'll clear
Right.
that up. And then I type everything after the session is done. Spirit will tell me we're all done. I'll pull my energy back and I type everything out for you and send it to you. So you'll always have a hard copy of what happened. Some people, some people have a really, like, they can feel the vibration happening while we're doing the work. They have
Hmm.
immediate shifts with what we worked on. And some clients I don't hear back from, and I'm just assuming that the work was done with the highest intention and hopefully they have more freedom.
Well, that
So
sounds
it's pretty
very
cool.
rewarding. Yeah, absolutely, and it sounds like it would be very effective for uh, change to occur on
Hmm.
rapidly. I guess is where I'm going, instead of having to wait and go through therapy session after therapy session after therapy session. Nothing wrong with that. Uh, I'm
No,
not
everything serves its
throwing mud.
purpose.
Right, exactly. But
Yeah.
as far as an expedience factor or perspective, it sure seems like that would be a fast way to get to the bottom of it. So there's something that I actually participated in with you that I'd like you to really talk about, because I think that this, well, first of all, I think it's very effective, but it's also a big part of your practice, which is the uh, family constellation
Hmm.
therapy.
Yeah,
Can you maybe talk a little bit about that and
sure.
just kind of explain it all?
And what the hell it is.
Yeah, yeah. What does that mean and what does it do?
So it was developed by Bert Hellinger way back in the day. I don't even know when he created it. But what it is it's helping you to understand the deep-seated emotional patterns and family dynamics within the system. And what can we balance? What can we release from the ancestors that you are carrying? So if you think about like a family tree, our generation that we're in our 50s, our grandparents went through the Depression. So many of my clients, as soon as I ask their age, and if they're in that group, I'll ask about the grandparents. Were they immigrants? How did they do through the Depression? Do you know? My particular grandmother one of my grandmothers was very, very poor through the Depression, very poor. So here I come along and I'm just this little kid. And if you didn't want to finish your plate, that wasn't allowed. There
Right.
was no wasting food. There was no just snacking whenever you wanted to snack. She was very tidy. She was very meticulous in her home. Everything had a purpose and was valuable to her. And so that lack of eating and not overeating energy is very present in my family. My dad, if he saw you overeating, he would say something. It was always, always very conscious in my family system to not overeat food. And
Hmm.
so that's one of the things that I've worked on in my family tree. And that's just one little thing that happened. Not the depression wasn't little, but it's one aspect in my family tree that I have worked on that now affects me today with food. Like food, now here I go. I don't restrict food. I go to culinary school and I make
Right.
feasts for my family,
Yeah,
right?
you go opposite
So,
way. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
I need to make sure I balance food. And do I really need this food? Because I can get very excited around food. Like that's one of my loves. And so
That's
sometimes
cool
I
though.
can overdo it. Uh, and so that's just one aspect of that we would work on in the family system. We start with the parents, like, is there alcoholism? Is there war trauma? Just
Right.
because you and I haven't um, served in a war, what about dad? What about
Hmm.
mom? What about grandparents? Immigrant trauma, it's horrific. Like who got
Oh
left
my gosh.
behind?
Yeah. Oh
Who
yeah.
who got left behind? Because not
Mm.
everybody could go. And so we work on that. There's a technique that we do that we talk to the ancestors and we ask permission to move forward towards more freedom, to free you up on what you're carrying that was never yours to carry.
I think that in and of itself is worth its weight in gold because you talk about, well, okay, so so many things we were finding out get transferred through DNA too. So some of those
Hmm.
traumas get transferred through DNA. We talk
Hmm.
about energies and transference and different things like that. So to be able to do something that just says, okay, snip, that's it, no more. You don't have to carry this anymore. It's not your weight to carry.
Hmm.
How liberating is that? So I know again from going through your. I had a family constellation session,
Hmm.
and I would say probably a day later, I felt a lot lighter. And you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I lost 5 pounds. It was just that heavy feeling. Although that's always
That
cool.
would be
Uh,
nice.
yeah, right. Yeah, 5 pounds is. I'd be doing that every 2 days. But you know what I mean. It's just one of those. Okay, so things aren't as bad. You know, when you just internalize things and you just get caught up in that. I just want. It's like you begin to enjoy it. That like you revel in that negative energy, and you're like, why am I doing this? And you don't know why
Right.
because it wasn't your why.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, and to me, that is one of the greatest gifts that you could receive is that liberation from things that aren't yours
Yeah.
any
And your
longer.
ancestors are very much showing up to take it back. It's not so much that you're cutting it, but you're just saying, can you please take this back? May I release it? And can I have permission to move forward? I see you. I honor you. We're always honoring the ancestors that went
Mm.
through, oh my goodness, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. Now I'm starting to get Ukrainian clients.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, yeah.
so it is, we honor those who have been through a- and not every session is about something so serious. There's other things other traumas that happen within the family system. So sometimes it can be really heavy work. Sometimes we can work on just, hey, I'm not feeling great. Let's just kind of shake this out and see what's going on. But we just want to make sure that the ancestors know that we are so thankful for their stories, but I have to release your story from my energy. So I have more freedom to have my own story. And we have a process. So we open up a morphogenic field, which is like an energy field in your home, and you can feel it. You step on papers that are representing your ancestors, and your body moves, and you feel sensations, and you say words that you really don't even know what they're coming from. And that's the energy of the ancestors showing up to help you. And it's really beautiful. It's definitely not a one and done kind of session. It's when you're just, okay, I'm ready for the next piece of what I can
Hmm.
let go. And then sometimes the client calls me back in 3 months, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's like once a year. Hey, what can we shake out? Because it's big work.
Yeah.
And the first time I did it, it blew my mind. It just blew my mind that this kind of work is out here. I didn't know anything about it. I was led to I made a session with Kelly White. We both know Kelly White.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
awesome.
And she said, "You know what? Your stuff's pretty big. I think you should contact this practitioner and get a session. Um, it's
Oh,
going to
wow.
serve you." And so I just listened. I just followed her advice and did it, and it changed my life. And next thing I know, I was learning it. I was in a class.
That's so cool. And I think a big part of this that you mentioned was giving thanks and gratitude for that. I think that that's a big piece in any spiritual practice, and especially in healing, is, thank you.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I learned a lot about what my grandmothers have been through just by standing on their paper and experiencing their heartache. And,
Hmm.
I lost an uncle who was 19 years old, and I felt my grandmother's trauma through that loss. And I always knew about the uncle passing at such a young age and my dad witnessing the death, but I didn't realize how much that was within my body, and what I carry. I was carrying my grandmother's sadness. And so
Oh,
releasing it, that was one of the biggest sessions I've ever done, is releasing that sadness back, and that I have freedom to know that um, I don't have to carry that. I acknowledge it though, and I acknowledge the uncle that passed so young. So it's deep work, and yet it's very liberating work.
hmm. No, 100%. And I can attest to it. So, well, thank
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
for sharing that, and thank you for the information. And if you're okay with this, we'll move on to our next section. And
Yeah.
as anyone can tell you that's listened to the podcast before, this is the section when I ask the guests some musical questions. And this is pillar 3 of our show. And as I mentioned regularly, music is the tie that binds. And I do believe that everyone has a soundtrack that accompanies their life if they just take a moment to think about it. So here we go with our musical questions. What was the first song you fell in love with from the radio, or one that you heard and you can remember saying, "Oh, I can't wait to hear that song again"?
I think it had to be, well, it was the 70s. I was a kid. We always had music on. And it had to be probably Elton John's Yellow Brick Road album. My sister
Oh,
had it, and
yeah.
my dad got her record player, and that was always on in the house. But also really like soft 70s rock. Like Dave Loggins, Please Come to Boston,
Oh, yeah.
um, Fleetwood
Muskrat
Mac.
Love. Muskrat Love. Captain Neil.
Yes, I watched Captain and Tennille. That was
I
that
know.
was on
It
TV,
was a
man.
variety show. I know. Oh
Yeah.
my God. That's the first time I've thought about that. And I don't remember the last time I thought about it.
Donnie and
Hell's
Marie and
Oh
Captain
my
Tennille
gosh.
and Cher. Are you
Yeah.
kidding? That was
Yeah.
all part of your week.
Oh, hell
Mhm.
yeah. Those were the days, variety shows, man. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
those are good musical choices.
yeah.
So the second question I have is, did your family have a song that everyone would belt out on a road trips or vacations when you were growing up?
Yeah, we didn't really have that family. Um
No. Okay.
no,
Or how about
the
how about
station
with your
wagon wasn't
kids?
really peaceful.
No.
Um
Stop
for
touching me.
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas music was big in my
Oh,
family.
cool.
For sure, for sure. Everybody lightened up around Christmas. Brenda Lee, Andy Williams, the
Oh, yeah.
classics. It made my mom so happy. So I would say if anyone was singing anything, it would be Christmas music. And then with my kids, I was kind of always in the loop on what their music was because we would have it on all the time. So just a variety of early 2000s kind of dance kind of music.
Cool.
Uh,
No,
every
that's
once in
cool.
a while, I'll hear a song, it'll be like, oh gosh, that was driving to volleyball back and forth.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
yeah.
And you hear
Um,
him screaming in the background, or "Mom, don't
mhm.
sing! Mom, don't sing!" Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that every once in a while from my boys, but
Yeah.
not too often.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what are a few of your favorite songs on a hype playlist, or do you have a hype playlist? I guess I should say.
Well, we sent me that question, I was like, oh gosh, I don't really have that, but I do have it. I have a boat list. And so when the kids are in town and we get out on the water, we definitely have a boat list. And it's just silly. It's what's popular now. Like
Hmm.
this year's edition was Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso,
Oh wow.
um, Doja Cat. Um, uh, we post Malone Circles. It's one of my very favorite
He,
songs.
I'm going to tell you what, Post Malone. I saw
He's
I
so
forget what it was.
gifted.
Oh my gosh, what he was on something the other night, and he was singing. Oh, geez, Louise, I
Oh, he
can't
was on the
remember.
SNL special.
Oh, that's what it was. That's exactly
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
he was singing with the Foo Fighters.
Hmm.
Holy shit, that guy is so versatile and so good. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's a
it's really cool to see him.
yeah. I remember
Oh
years
man.
ago, my daughter was going to see him in Detroit, and I'm like, "Where are you going to park? What are you doing?" Like she was in college, and she goes, "Mom, this man is going to change the world." And I had no idea who he was. But he has such a beautiful voice, and he made the boat list. We love Rihanna.
Hey, he must be doing something then.
Yeah, we love
Make the boat list.
Rihanna.
Yeah.
We have old stuff like Snoop, Gin and Juice. It's just
Oh hell yeah.
it's such a fun song. And Britney, you gotta have a little Britney in there.
Britney,
So
bitch.
yeah,
Yes.
work, bitch. It's such a good song to just.
That's something.
Well, yeah,
I thought you were going to
yeah.
say yacht rock at first, because going with that 70s theme. I was like, going, when you said for the boat, I was like, oh, she's going to go yacht rock on me. And you didn't. That was awesome. So you made up your own,
No.
you have your boating playlist, which is so cool. Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yacht rock
excellent.
is more like when I'm cooking and just running errands and that kind of stuff. That's definitely my jam. But
So not
not like,
everybody knows what yacht rock is. So that's cool. They have they used to have a station on Sirius. I don't know if they
yeah,
still do or not.
it's just in the summer, I think they play it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just those oldies,
Run
the
like the
70s.
wind,
Oh my
to
gosh,
be
yeah,
free again. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. With little Michael McDonald in the background. He was like in everybody's shit.
Yeah,
uh Yamo be there.
right.
Yama gonna punch you in the face. Um anyway. Uh so when you were in high school, let's say your senior year, did you and your friends have a favorite song that you guys would belt out with the windows down, cigarettes hanging out of your mouth, just being all badass and stuff?
Yeah, we were kind of rowdy. I would say I have this vivid memory of driving to Phil Collins, hold on, and
Ooh.
just blasting it. And just the drums on that song. But I think it was just all over the place. Madonna was huge for me, the Cars, Steve Miller Band,
Mm.
um, concerts I went and saw the Go-Go's
Oh
and
wow.
Belinda Carlisle. She was just such a badass. And I just wish I appreciated her more back then, what she
Hmm.
was doing and their music. I mean, I just to this day that song comes on and you got the beat, we got the
Oh
beat.
yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, hell, I think when that "Oh Mickey, you're so
Oh, Mickey,
fine, you're
you're
so
so
fine."
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
forget
don't
who
think that
sang
was the
that.
Go-Go's though. That
No, I
was
forget who that was. Like,
it was a
uh,
little brunette that I can't think of her name, of course.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she probably was a one-hit person, but that was so. I don't know. So I graduated high school in 1984. So
Mhm.
that was like when Rick Springfield was
Mhm.
happening. ZZ Top was really big. Phil Collins, of course, like you say, Judas Priest. I mean, you talk about eclectic music, like where I came from. So I would listen to classical music. I would listen to
Mm.
choral music. I'd listen to like Al Jarreau, George
Yeah.
Benson, and then I'd listen to Ronnie James Dio, Holy Diver, or something like that right after. I was all over the place, but I was a huge Sammy Hagar fan. Just
Oh
it,
yeah. And then
and
Van
oh yeah,
Halen,
yep, 84,
Jump.
1984. Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Oh my
that was big
gosh.
then.
It was
That was
playing in
huge.
everybody's car. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
On our
absolutely.
on our tapes.
Yes,
Yeah.
cassettes.
Cassette
Back in
tapes.
the
Yeah.
day. If I showed
Yeah.
my kids a cassette tape, they go, "Yeah, what is this?"
Mhm.
"No, it's a cassette tape."
Well,
"Uh,
it's all different, right?
yeah, absolutely." There's hell, I don't even know if they make CDs anymore.
I don't know.
That's a good question. I have to do
Everything's
some
on my
research.
phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, where I can get
Yeah.
it at any time. So,
Yeah.
did your musical taste change at all after high school when you were in college?
I think it just expanded, when you meet new people. Like my roommate introduced me to U2. I hadn't
Oh,
listened to them
yes.
before, more alternative rock kind of stuff. Um,
Smooth
if I
Rains and
hear the Bangles,
Cure.
it immediately reminds me of the bar, Walk Like an
Mhm.
Egyptian, that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as I got older in school, um some of the classics. I remember going and seeing this one band all the time, and he sang Amy and American Pie.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like that, even though it was a little older music, that reminds me of college in the late 80s. Just because this one bar we would go to. And uh,
That's very cool. Yeah, we
but
had one of those guys too that'd bring his guitar to every party and
yeah,
stuff. And yeah,
yeah.
American Pie was always a big one that he'd bring out. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was yeah. Well, you know what? And here's the thing. I'll say that I wouldn't. I couldn't play guitar, so I would just start singing. And I was in a fraternity, and a lot of my fraternity brothers would have me singing a
It was
cappella
so
for them.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they would they'd sing along too, and they say, "Hey, Stott, sing under the boardwalk, sing under the
Yeah.
boardwalk." So I did a,
Right. That was a big one.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I think at that time it was probably Bruce Willis that sang it. But anyway, yeah, when return,
Remember? Yeah.
return of Bruno or something like that.
Yeah,
Return
he had a
from,
little
return of.
he was in a band. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it was
funny.
kind of yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one more song, but I know you have more songs, and we'll get them on the playlist.
Yeah.
But and this is one of my favorite questions because I know it's true for me. There are
Mm.
songs you hear that ring so true that they can stop you in your tracks, and like the lyrics of the song were either written specifically for you or by you. What's that song for you?
Well, I think now it's Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. I never really knew what the song was about until my marriage broke. And then it stopped me dead in my tracks. All of a sudden, I heard the lyrics and I was like, oh, and about the kids being okay, and
Mm,
that um, um, how she sings the song. So that for sure uh, had complete different meaning to me after I had a different experience. I experienced something, that was painful, and that song definitely. Now it's kind of hard to listen to,
yeah,
because now I'm
yeah, I
in
could see
a
that.
better space, and I'm remarried, and um, life is good. So
Hmm.
sometimes then it just hits differently now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about music. And I always say that it can snap you back to a, a bygone time without
Hmm.
sounding, too nostalgic, but it's true. You can think of a song and then it's like, oh yeah, like Under the Boardwalk. I don't think of that song ever. And then we were talking about college and then singing and the guy and it
Yeah, and
put
it
it
came
all
back.
together. Yeah, immediately, like boom, yeah, sitting outside by the fires and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the amazing thing about music. That's that thread, and that's why I say that's a tie that binds us all together because we all have something
Yeah.
in what the song that we could be listening to the same song and it'll hit us differently for different reasons.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Steve Miller, it was a sunny day. I grew up in Michigan, and when that first spring sun hits and you can finally be outside and we're all laying out, we went up onto the roof and we're laying on the roof in this house we were renting and listening to Steve Miller Band. Like that every time I hear Steve Miller, and it brings back this really beautiful memory of me and my roommates and hanging out and laughing and
That's
just
cool.
being blessed to have that kind of experience. Sometimes the grind of college is like, oh my gosh, I just have to get through this. But it is such a blessing, to be able to be learning and that this institution exists and that you're
Right.
able to be growing and then with good people. Yeah, it's a good memory.
100%. And I love it.
Mhm.
And thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, I'm glad. It's always, I always enjoy my time with you. So
Thank
it's,
you.
I could do this every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I'd also like to take a moment to thank everyone again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. I'd also like to thank our very special guest, Miss Julie Grant, for being on the show today. So, Julie, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a
So,
lot of fun.
absolutely. Can you tell everyone how to get in touch with you again?
Yes, I have a website, intuitivehealingbyjulie.com, or an email, intuitivehealingbyjulie@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And
And
I'll make sure that
yeah,
that's on the the show notes. Is there something
great.
else? Do
No,
you have
that's
anything
it.
coming up?
Like special kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
No, just my
Okay.
schedule's open, and if you have any questions, just pop me an email and say, "Hey, I have a question about this." It's all good. I'm here for
Awesome.
whatever you need. Yeah.
You're so cool. Thank you. Well, I also invite you to head on over to the show notes where, as I said, there's going to be a link to the playlist from today's episode, as well as the link to be able to get in touch with Julie. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of the show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health and happiness and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.